the 5750 end of the month JPM strike short calls.
Yep.
Okay. So tell me if my thinking process is correct. So if we get above that, short calls from JPM, so the market makers are long calls, and then they're going to hedge with short futures or whatever, right?
Or yeah, or whatever. But yes, downward
Okay.
pressure. Yeah.
And then, so, okay, so let's say we get above it, and then they're getting less and less. Let me see. So they're short futures, and then the deltas are getting more because a short call is like a long put. So it's becoming like more negative, right? As we go up.
Yes.
And then therefore, since it's going more negative,
On our side, it's going more negative on our side.
yeah, so then they need to um, sell futures to adjust their deltas.
Right, which puts downward pressure on the overall ES SPX SPY complex.
Right. And then vice versa if they're under. So as we get closer to September 30th, end of day, it's kind of like a gravity well, so to speak.
Bingo.
Okay. I just want to confirm, is that the correct way to think of it?
It is the correct way to think about it. So for whether they use futures, I mean, obviously they do use futures, and there are other instruments that they can use. We always say futures are correlated instruments. And what does that mean, right? So, the Apples, the Microsofts, all the stuff that might be moving with it on a short-term basis, all play into this. So yes, just hand wave. Futures are correlated instruments. And you're exactly right. So I've got it up on the screen right now. And we're showing a net as of this morning's numbers, right? We're showing a net 34,000 negative at that strike. We know when they opened this nearly 3 months ago, it was 39,600. And then there were a bunch of copycats that went on top of it. One of them was a little over 5,600, which in and of itself is a fairly big chunk to do. So there's been a lot of long calls that have gone on this and are kind of stomped on top of it. And you can see that there's a 5,000, a 2,000, another 5,000, 9,000. So it's not inconceivable. There's, this 34,000 has actually got a fairly significant number, maybe 10,000, maybe 5,000 long calls offsetting some of that, hence why it's not down at 39,000. I can guarantee you, though, that in the adjustments file, it's 39,600. So, right where we close tonight, this is still an out of the money short call. Has a negative delta because it's a short call, right? And because it's out of the money, we are less in deltas. So think of it as being minus 30, minus 20. It's not that severe here because we're almost on it. But it's a short delta that is below 50. It's below the at the money strike delta, right? And so for whatever reason, as we push towards this, right, we are effectively adding, and I'm going to ignore all the other deltas that are in the complex because those offset, but let's just say for all intents and purposes, if I'm playing with just the short strike at 37.50, as the price moves up, I'm actually adding more negative deltas to the book, right? Because I'm going from, say, the overall delta that I'm experiencing from that short strike, say it was minus 30, as price comes up and gets closer to that money, I'm driving it towards minus 50. So I've gone from minus 30 to minus 50. I've added negative deltas to the book, right? Minus 20 deltas to the book in that thought experiment. So as price goes up, we add negative deltas, right? Well, the dealer's on the other side of the trade. With the dealer on the other side of the trade, they get longer. All things considered, they have to sell. What do they sell? As you said, they sell futures, they sell correlated instruments, whatever it is to remove deltas from their side of the table. I don't care what it is. Could be SPY, could be whatever. Who cares? It's correlated. And when you do that, right? When you do that, you're basically causing in that instance, you're causing this pinning that we start seeing. And I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but in the Qs and in the SPY, we're really in these tight ranges, right? We're not, volatility is really compressed, and it's not doing a lot. So all things considered, price moving does one thing. Now there's another component here, which you didn't talk about. It's charm. If I just sit here, right, I'm just going to decay because it's an out of the money call. This is going to go opposite to the gamma that we just talked about, the delta function there. And so as I just start decaying down, I'm going from -20 to -19 to -18 to -17 to -16, right? So I'm actually getting longer. The dealer's getting shorter due to charm. What's that do? Now they have to start buying due to charm. So you've got two things that are going on. You've got this upward movement in price, which introduces that effectively that push away, that repulsive force that we see that is part of gamma. But then you've got charm into a short strike, which actually just melts this upward. And that's that gravity well that you're talking about. So if we just do it gradually, we literally are just melting the system upward until we get to that 57.50. And all things considered, if there were no calls going in and no puts going in and nothing was being closed, we would likely pin on that because that would be the balance point. Now, on the other side of the table, we have charm. So if we're up here, and let's just say we run up to 57.75, just for shits and grins here. If there's no pressure, no gamma that's playing with us, no calls going in, no puts going in, nothing's being closed, et cetera, same scenario, and we just have charm, what's happening? We're in the money. If we're in the money and we're negative, right? Remember, it's a short call and we're in the money. So its delta is -60, maybe 61, -61, -62, -63 as we go tick-tock, right? Think of the meme with, well, I won't go there. So we're effectively getting shorter in our book, more negative in deltas. The dealer's getting longer, and all things considered, the charm effects are the gravity well. They force us down, right? And so that selling, because they're getting longer, pushes us back down. And that becomes that pinning mechanism when we don't have a lot of activity that's going on with the overall structure. So the gamma component of it, the change in spot price due to opening, speculation, closing, fear, greed, all of that is the noise we've been experiencing the last couple of days. And then when we pause and start kind of going horizontal, which was kind of what we've been doing in the afternoon, except for those brief, stop checks and everything that we've been seeing, then charm starts doing what it's doing. And as you can see, we've just been kind of melting upward a little more day over day towards this 57.50. Today, I thought was the day that we were going to break free, or we had a good chance to break free of this thing, because from this morning's perspective, well, the numbers are different because of where we are now. But from this morning's perspective, this number was sitting down like at -4,000. And the area around it, if you just take raw magnitude, it's almost being neutralized out of there, right? But that was not to be, right? So we've dropped a little bit in the overall closing price from where we were yesterday. And, frankly, we were introducing it's back, that type thing. And now we've got these negative deltas. We've got the gamma, the short gamma that we're seeing here. And we've got the net OI, which is clearly negative, indicating more of a long put type of structure than anything. And that's due to that, what you said, that's a put call parity that we have on the overall structure. So we've got this, and then we got the end of October already rearing its head up here at 58.35, but it's much smaller, right? And so I expect, we could melt towards this area, but it's not going to, it's what we call the baby bear of the three from JPM. There's actually a good chance that this is going to vaporize and be a nothing muffin for the end of October, but we'll see.